of the United Nations, CDP, in February 2021 to become a least developed countries in 2026. So the period of 2021 to 2026 is a crucial time for the country to achieve its goal. Today, through the roundtable discussions on preparedness for smooth and sustainable LDC graduation and effective development cooperation, and LDC graduation opportunities and challenges for commerce and trade, Center for Government Studies intends to discuss and analyze the smooth way to LDC graduation and its related opportunities and challenges. Now, for inauguration of the program, I would like to request Mr. Jilur Rahman, Executive Director, Center for Government Studies, and anchor of the most successful television program in Bangladesh, Titiyo Matra, to deliver his welcome speech. To be added, this program is being now live streaming in Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. So I again welcome all of them who are with us from different regions of the world. So now, Mr. Jilur Rahman, to the podium.
Thank you, Nazmul. Assalamu alaikum, namaskar, and a very good morning. Distinguished guests, participants, former ministers, Member of Parliaments, World Bank Country Director Mercy Imban, ladies and gentlemen, I'm extremely delighted to welcome you to this inaugural session of the National Dialogue of LDC Graduation hosted by the Center for Governance Studies. Bangladesh has received the final recommendation by the Committee for Development Policy of the United Nations, UNCDP, in February 2021 to graduate from the least developed country LDC category in 2026. Now the formulation of an effective smooth transition strategy, STS, is very crucial for the country. A smooth transition strategy requires economic sector-wise gap analysis and risk assessment, followed by deep consultation and engagement with bilateral and multilateral development partners, private sectors, NGOs, civil society organizations, and all other stakeholders. Moreover, the onslaught of COVID-19 has posed more challenges to the government's roadmap for LDC graduation. It would seem that the government is yet to have a comprehensive action plan to prepare an effective, smooth transition strategy. There is also overlap and vagueness in the terms of reference of the different bodies created to implement action points and oversee outcomes of this transition. Perhaps consultation and engagement with the development partners and national and international stakeholders are also limited. The Committee for Development Policy of the United Nations, UNCDP, strongly recommends the graduating countries work closely with all stakeholders. Data from already graduated countries demonstrate that by working very closely with national stakeholders and international development partners to formulate a smooth transition strategy, these nations have been able to secure support in terms of trade, aid, and investment for sustainable graduation. There is a dread among many of us in terms of government initiatives and the engagement of stakeholders in the process of the formulation of the smooth transition strategy. LDC graduation is, of course, a matter of pride for the nation, particularly as it arrives at the time of celebration of the Golden Jubilee of our independence as a nation. However, the challenges have to be managed efficiently and effectively. Otherwise, this blessing will turn into a curse. Henceforth, CGS, as part of its commitment to endeavor for the well-being of Bangladesh, has organized this day-long national dialogue to facilitate the government, development partners, private sector, NGO, CSOs, and academics to sit together, discuss and outline an action plan for the smooth and sustainable transition from LDC. There will be 3 roundtables after the welcome session: preparedness for smooth and sustainable LDC graduation and effective development cooperation, and LDC graduation opportunities and challenges for trade and commerce. This national dialogue aims to reflect on the opportunities and challenges for Bangladesh, generate innovative ideas, and make recommendations to policymakers for a smooth and sustainable transition from LDC. I believe the dialogue has been able to bring together policymakers, politicians, development partners, economists, and professionals to aid in this cause. I believe it will be a most productive day, and the Center for Governance Studies feels proud to host such an event. My dear guests and participants, I'm delighted to inform you that the Economic Development and Cooperation Wing of CGS has outlined an action plan to conduct research and organize events in the areas such as budget evaluation, development cooperation, development effectiveness, and corruption, SDG, and LDC graduation. We solicit your contribution and participation in our research and events. Thank you, Excellencies, participants, and ladies and gentlemen, for your kind and gracious presence at this event. I would like to express my thanks and gratitude to all our esteemed speakers for their contributions regarding this pertinent matter. I would like to thank our partners at Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, APS Bangladesh, and Team Group, without whose support and advice it would not have been possible to organize the conference. I am grateful to my colleagues of CGS, particularly to our member of the Economic Development and Cooperation Wing, Dr. Abdullah Mamun, Mahbub Rahman Tulip, and Muhammad Tausif Islam. Without their endeavor, this conference would not have happened. Well done, Team CGS. I'd like to take this opportunity to highlight some important programs that the Center for Governance Studies is conducting or plans to conduct in the coming days. The Bay of Bengal Conversation is our upcoming flagship event, which will take place between 28 to 30th May 2022 in Dhaka. The planned yearly conference on governance, security, and development will be the first of its kind to bring together stakeholders from multiple communities from sustained dialogue on issues that face the region and create pathways through which regional identity and cooperation could take shape. This unique platform will convene over 200 delegates from over 70 countries to join the brightest minds in Bangladesh to discuss, ideate, and debate the most pressing regional and global challenges. Next is the Global Directions Conclave, GDC, a planned annual intensive 10-day policy workshop is scheduled to be held from October 1 to 10, 2022 in Dhaka and Cox's Bazar. Each year, the conclave will bring together 50 outstanding young leaders from diverse backgrounds, geographies, and sectors. The young leaders will be nominated by heads of governments, leaders of the private sector, and global experts. The conclave aims to foster leadership qualities among the selected fellows, to engage them in discussion on issues that are trending worldwide, and to serve as a networking platform. Center for Governance Studies is already conducting an extensive youth training program called the Youth Research and Development Forum, YRDF. The goal of the forum is to equip young students with the knowledge and skills to become skilled researchers in their respective fields by giving them practical research experience and introducing them to the latest research technology and methodology. We hope you will continue to support us so we can continue to conduct many more programs such as this and carry on our advocacy for development and good governance. I hope many of you will also join in the roundtable sessions, which will start at 10:45 a.m. and contribute to the smooth and sustainable graduation of Bangladesh from LDC. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jilur Rahman, for your welcome speech. Now, I would like to request Dr. Abdullah Mamun, Research Director, Center for Governance Studies, and faculty member, University of Dhaka, to deliver the keynote of the program.
Nazmul, thank you so much. Let me speak from here for the convenience to operate my laptop. Respected Chairman of CGS, Dr. Manjur Ahmed, Executive Director Jilur Rahman, distinguished guests, my dear journalists, participants, and everyone, in fact. Good morning to you all. I think this is the first kind of initiative taken by any think tank in the broader arena to address a very burning issue called LDC graduation. We are listening to these statements or these words, I think, for last few years after 2018. But what CGS has observed that yet work not has been done that could bring a sustainable graduation or smooth transition. With this vision, we have organized this dialogue and hope through your contribution we'll have a meaningful day, and that ultimately contributes to the smooth and sustainable LDC graduation of Bangladesh. One thing I should say that we are adoring the LDC graduation in a time when we are celebrating 50 years of our independence. And I feel proud and as a Bangladeshi national, and I would like to thank the government of Bangladesh and all stakeholders, including CSOs, think tank, NGOs, politicians, everybody for this fantastic achievement. If I just quickly go through my presentation and take you through that, what is our objective of this dialogue and what we'll be looking for in 3 different roundtable sessions. We know that the country was progressing well. In fact, we are progressing well, and our GDP size had gone above 400, and our per capita income is around above 2,500. But COVID-19, of course, has slowed down the whole process, and we are in a recovery phase. But unfortunately, we are adoring or welcoming graduation at a time when the country has to manage the shock of the pandemic and at the same time plan and execute the plan for the LDC graduation. The first triennial review that took place in 2018, and then the second one this year, in fact, in February 2021. And this is a preparatory phase for us from 2021 to 2026. And after these 5 years, we'll be graduating in 2026, and we hope that we have a plan and policies compiled in the smooth and sustainable transition strategy. And of course, from after 2026, we'll examine and see how that transition strategy works. So these are the milestones in terms of our LDC graduation. If we quickly look at tells a different story. There are 46 countries and 16 are in different phases of graduation, and Bangladesh is one of them. 6 countries graduated, but I'll be going into that details, their reality, but reality of Bangladesh is totally different than 6 graduated countries. So what does this graduation mean? Of course, this graduation is not our destination. Our destination is to reach to the milestone of a developed country. So our journey will continue through the graduation. We like to draw more momentum towards SDG and finally to become a developed country by 2041. What I was saying that if we look at the data of the 6 graduated countries, Cape Verde, Samoa, Botswana, Vanuatu, the reality of those countries, size, population, trade, is these are the island countries, but Bangladesh will be perhaps the retaining trade benefit, which is a common misnomer in fact, but we have to realize that the impact would be very high if not managed well. It would be impacting agriculture, health, education, social welfare, science and technology. Because we talk about three indexes, but if we go very details of those indexes, we'll see that agriculture is there, education is there, environment is there. So it is not just the negotiation of trade benefit after graduation. It includes the whole of country approach. It will affect almost 17 sectors of the country. Second, another thing we have to remember that LDC graduation doesn't mean that graduating to upper trajectory or to a different level. Rather, changing life of the people would be very crucial. If we just look back and see what happened in the health sector due to Corona, does that tell that our health sector is equipped enough and ready to serve or change the life of the people? Even if you look at the reports of today's newspaper, we'll see that every day the health expenditure of the people is increasing, which is very alarming for the nation, and that should not be helpful for the changing life of the people. And again, if we look at the education, we have a very good rate of education, but quality and also education curriculum is also failing to give license to the for employment. So this is another concern. And also we are exporting laborers, but we're discussing this for many decades, but still we're not able to export skilled laborers, which could have been contributing to our economy more, not in number, but with the finance. So this is another area of concern. And if we look at the governance and human right, this is the another area that has to, this is culminated along with the graduation, and that has to be addressed as well. So this is the reason it is not a graduation, rather it should be a call to change life of the people. And it should not, when we are saying the life of changing life of the people, it should not the improvement of the section of people, rather the achievement has to be distributed to change the life of the mass people. So then the graduation will be successful. Another important thing is that last 3-4 years from 2018, I think the idea of LDC graduation is very much confined to Secretariat or Planning Commission or different buildings of the government and some section of think tank or people. But government process of LDC graduation or their implementation process. Another important thing is that what I was saying, that it is still confined to a limited section of people. Awareness among the people is very important, because the outcome of LDC graduation has to be enjoyed by them, not a section of people. But I doubt again that this, what does this graduation means? How can that contribute to their life? How can that change their life? Most people do not really understand what is LDC graduation. Thereby, to create awareness among the mass people is very important. What I said a moment ago, the graduation in the midst of pandemic, definitely more challenging than what we thought. Moving on, I think the positive outcomes, these are the common positive outcomes we expect from the LDC graduation. I've given you the concept notes so you can go through the benefits. It can change the image of the country, trade, it can bring more finance for investment. FDI, it can bring, but subject to number of changes, subject to address many issues that exist in relation to FDI and other factors that will definitely create or contribute as positive outcome of LDC graduation. There will be withdrawal of benefits, as we know, GSP, AOA, TRIPS, and others. So we need to be equipped enough to face the withdrawal challenge of benefit by different organizations. What should be the main activities in terms of the preparedness for LDC graduation? So graduation planning and the COVID-19 recovery together, I think this is the main challenge for the government, or as such for the nation as a whole. And development of smooth transition strategy is really challenge for us, so that we can manage the negative impact and continue with our development effort. Set up consultative mechanism with the development partner. Currently, as far my information, what I understand, then local consultative group is not that active as it was previously. BDF, donors have observation, or our development partners have observation about BDFs. Recently, government has changed the structure as well. So consultative mechanism currently not effective as it was even previously between 10 to 16 or 17. Engagement with the international bodies and forums, it will be crucial for us, and we have to prepare well so that we can play a role and ensure our stake, raise our voice, and finally achieve the sustainable graduation. There will be different reviews for CDPs, and we should take care of that as a nation. This is the pathway that we now have the recommendation. We have to prepare STS, then that has to be approved by the government, and finally that STS has to be implemented. This is the pathway prescribed by UN CDP. We are in the pathway, but we have to address or navigate this pathway well. Otherwise, we can't really have a smooth and sustainable graduation. So why STS? Why smooth transition strategy is important, and why do CDP, why does CDP emphasize on that? For 4 main reasons, what I believe is the main objective of STS should be to continue with the development endeavors. And secondly, mitigate losses of as LDC benefits. Currently, we are having number of benefits, but we'll lose that. So that has to be addressed through STS. And this STS has to be country-led and demand-driven, and that can give solution towards a sustainable graduation. And of course, specific measures of each priority and vulnerabilities has to be addressed. One thing I think we have to remember as a nation that it is not a budget document or 5 years plan that you can set target. If the target are not met, you can defer it for the next year. Or it is not even 5 years plan that you plan in the 8th 5-year plan. If not achieved, then you can defer it for the 9th 5-year plan. We have to understand that STS would be a decisive document, and approach has to be there. We can't really fail. We have to achieve the objective. We have to mitigate the challenge, and we have to sustain LDC graduation. So this is the outline given by the CDP in terms of preparing STS. And what UNCDP and DESA emphasizes is the involvement of stakeholders. That's what I was saying, that last 3 years particularly, or 4 years, we're listening about the LDC graduation, but involvement of different stakeholders, private sectors, think tanks, and other is still absent. And as I said a moment ago, the engagement with the multilateral and bilateral partners are also absent. So why development partners are important for sustainable LDC graduation? Of course, for research, for access to international market, for lobbying, for capacity building, or even for negotiation, and finally for finance for assistance. And number of countries, those are already graduated. We can see that development partners have played crucial role to their transition. Available international supports we have, but we have to engage with those supports and reap the benefit of those, such as SGSF or UN IATF and others. But it is not yet visible that we are in the right direction to have to secure international support for the sustainable LDC graduation. Of course, the countries graduated already. The benefits didn't stop. They're able to negotiate with the international partners, with UN, EU, and others, and continue with the support. But those support depends how much we can negotiate, how far we are effective in negotiating them. It will not come automatic. So there are options and there are example convention that benefits can continue, but it will depend on the capacity of the government as well as a nation for us to reap those benefits and continue with the development momentum. There are a number of countries, those offers continue with the benefits even after the graduation, like European Union and Turkey, like Australia, Canada, India. But there are countries like Japan, Chile, and Thailand who are very reluctant to provide or continue with the existing support to the LDCs after the graduation. So there are a number of negotiation and support measures internationally, and government has to address that, and we need to be very efficient in negotiating with those. But alongside with that, what I said at the beginning, that this LDC graduation doesn't mean the negotiating trade benefit. Rather, we need a comprehensive approach that we have to secure our support in agriculture, in fisheries, and those can be done playing proactive role internationally in platforms such as LDC 5 is coming, WTO ministerial meeting will be this month, end of this month, and definitely we need to understand with whom we should go for FTA or PTA. That has to be addressed. And a negotiation wing can be created in yearly, in fact, in terms of the negotiation with the international partner, and that is not yet visible clearly. So if we look at the successes of the graduated countries, what they did, particularly Maldives, Samoa, Guinea, and Vanuatu, that they identified their strength. For example, Malaysia explored new fish market for them in USA and Thailand. Samoa also able to have negotiation with Japan and China for their agro product, and they negotiated well with Australia and New Zealand to continue with the benefits. Equatorial Guinea, same way, they have welcomed FDI from China, Nigeria, and Russia. So they have evaluated their strength and weakness, identify the steps, and now they are within the right direction of the LDC sustainability. And also, if we look at Vanuatu, they are exporting coconuts to Malaysia and Japan, and beef to Japan, and coconuts to Malaysia and Philippines. So they are not confined with the limited products they historically had. Rather, they have diversified their product. They looked for new market, and now they are in the right pathways for the sustainability. And we have, government has taken number of efforts, in fact, that government formed the National Committee on LDC Graduation, headed by the Principal Secretary, FBCCI, BGMA, BAPI was there. 7 committees have been formed for different targets and assignments. And the joint task force is also formed, mainly targeting the engagement with the development partner. There's a working group in the ERD under the leadership of the Development Effectiveness Wing. However, the actions of these committees, engagement, their tour and etc. is not yet clear. And when I was going through the tour of these committees, wing and the task forces, there are clear overlaps in that, and that can really undermine our effort or jeopardize the effort in achieving or formulating sustainable graduation. The government has a dedicated project in ERD called Support to Sustainable Graduation, but their activities is still limited and not yet really appearing in the broader spectrum. So what is the target of this dialogue? These dialogues likes to address or looks for the answer of this question, that are we on the right pathways to formulate a smooth transition strategy on time and sustainable graduation. We'll also look for how do we address the issues such as inequalities and distribution of assets, which are not included in the graduation criteria but are adversely affected by COVID-19. Another question we have to address is, can we sustain the development process in and after COVID-19 crisis and achieve sustainable graduation? And of course, do we have the concrete strategy for the finance for development? Because we know the international finance is squeezing. We need more skill, we need more negotiating power, we need more training to negotiate well with the development partners. Then another question is, how can we ensure investment from private sector and FDI? We know that our private investment is in between in and around 30 for many years. It has to go to 40 or above for sustainable graduation. And what will be the strategy to ensure new international support measure? This is also important in the changing dynamics of the COVID-19. The things are changing in the international area. How could we do that? That will be another challenge. And but most important thing is that, this is my last statement, if we are complacent, or are we complacent, and are we welcoming more challenge? This will be my main question to this audience, that confining the LDC graduation within some buildings, some blocks, are we welcoming more challenges? Are we complacent? And finally, are we not able to achieve sustainable graduation and a smooth transition? Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdul Al Mamun, for your insightful delivery. Now, I would like to request Dr. Manjur Ahmed Choudhury, Chairman, Center for Governance Studies, to the podium to deliver his speech.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, friends from media, good morning. Welcome to today's dialogue on LDC graduation of Bangladesh. Dr. Abdullah Al Mamun just presented the concept paper, concept note of today's discussion. There will be a lot of in-depth discussion as we progress through the day. Meanwhile, I will make few comments. 5 years from now, in the year 2026, Bangladesh will touch another milestone in its development journey. In that year, in 2026, Bangladesh will finally cast off its LDC label. Bangladesh is marching forward to join with other developing nations to claim its rightful place in the world arena. But the metamorphosis from LDC to a developing nation has challenges. After the LDC graduation, there will be a lot of challenges we have to face. Perhaps the quota-free, duty-free facility will not be available to us. Trade-related intellectual property rights will make it difficult for some of our industries to operate smoothly. The half a decade long transition period is neither an easy sail. It will require a lot of planning, concerted efforts to draw a smooth, sustainable transition strategy. Our government has already initiated the process. There is a national committee, there are subcommittees, working groups, task force working on this issue. The main task is now how we make our economy competitive and resilient enough to face the post-LDC graduation challenges successfully. Center for Governance Studies arranged this event to facilitate exchange of ideas and opinions among the stakeholders. Following this welcome session, there will be 3 roundtable discussion sessions where there will be a lot of in-depth analysis discussions by the eminent expert on this important topic. On behalf of Center for Governance Studies, I thank you all for participating in this event. Thank you.
Okay, Manju bhai.
Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to you in this cold but beautiful morning. This is your host, Mahmoudur Rahman from Center for Governance Studies. Thank you for being here today. Roundtable Discussion 1 is focused on the preparation of Bangladesh for a smooth and sustainable LDC graduation. Bangladesh requires careful calculations of the consequences of LDC graduation and needs to prepare accordingly. The guest of honor of the discussion is the World Bank's Country Director for Bangladesh and Bhutan, Mercy Myang Tembon. And the moderator of the discussion is Senior Partner of PwC, Bangladesh, Mamun Rashid. Thank you. I now hand over the floor to Mamun Rashid sir to please begin the roundtable discussion. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum and very good morning to all of you. We were listening to Dr. Abdullah Mamoon as a very preamble of this discussion and kick-off discussion, and lot has been mentioned about stakeholder approach, the broader stakeholder approach, while we are aiming to get into a transition into a developing country. So I will start with two, not much ado though, two kind of preambles. One is that yes, when Mr. Harry K. Thomas, His Excellency, the US Ambassador to Bangladesh, returned back to Washington DC as the Executive Secretary in the State Office of Her Excellency Condoleezza Rice, the US Secretary of State, then I paid a visit to him at Washington DC. So he got me, and he was very aggressive with regard to championing Bangladesh's issue. As such, the issues of the LDCs like Bangladesh. So he introduced me with the people who were handling the USTR, US Trade Representative's Office. So I landed up with a lady who just returned from her assignment in the People's Republic of China in Beijing. So, and she was asking me, Mr. Rashid, tell me, who are your competitor while you are trying to increase your export to countries like United States of America or UK or Germany or as such Canada and other developed markets. So I told her that yes, obviously I'm sure you know through your research that yes, it is got to be countries like Vietnam, countries like Indonesia, countries like Philippines, countries like Egypt, countries like India, even countries like Pakistan. So she loudly told me, you are competing with each one of them except China. You are only second to China with regard to export of apparel into the United States of America market. So you are telling me that yes, you are competing and very proudly competing with all the countries that you have mentioned. And Mr. Rashid, incidentally, all these countries are developing countries. You are the only country which, according to us, according to our research, has been conveniently kept itself as an LDC. So a country which is happily competing with all other countries to make sure more and more made in Bangladesh is being welcomed into United States of America or as such similar markets. So Bangladesh was showing the potentials of a developing country much before, maybe through the private sector, maybe through the women workers, those who are working day and night to create excellence for made in Bangladesh, or to champion the kind of token that made in Bangladesh is meant for. And second example is that there was a team mission from World Bank, Washington DC during the last quarter of 2019. I'm very conscious that the lady sitting next to me, the esteemed lady, is nobody less than the World Bank Country Director, Marcy Tembon, and very important stakeholder in our journey towards, if you tell this thing excellence, or if you tell this thing graduation, at least graduation. So, and then when they came and when the team was going back, of course after hosted by Marcy herself, I guess, so they met, of course, several secretaries of the government of Bangladesh, senior secretaries, and the one person told me, you know, Mr. Rashid, your government, or this, at least the secretaries, senior bureaucrats, they want to remain, they want to become a developing country because the Honorable Prime Minister wanted Bangladesh to become a developing country. So, but they want to enjoy all the benefits befitting to an LDC. So one of your very important secretary whispered into my ears that yes, we think you should, World Bank and others should continue with all the benefits, all the support that is due to a LDC, but since the Honorable Prime Minister wants that Bangladesh should become a developing country, so at least on the face of it, we should aim towards becoming a developing country. So ladies and gentlemen, I have spoken so much on this, but just to keep up the thing that yes, there is a, if I ask this set of people or the team of people present here, distinguished audience and participants, and more importantly, according to Dr. Abdullah Al Mamun, important stakeholders towards our journey to become a developing country. I'm sure many of us, deep into our hearts, even today, believe that yes, we want to enjoy all the benefit of an LDC. So I don't want to blame only our bureaucrats, but become a developing country. So this is not possible. Let's accept the reality. This is not possible. So we have to stand on our own feet, and this is the reality. What we have learned, also reiterated by Dr. Mamun, that yes, there will be at least issues with regard to duty-free, quota-free access to the developed markets for Bangladesh, made in Bangladesh products. And there will be issues with regard to aid disbursement, size and parameter of aid disbursement, especially towards the non-government sector, handling, and thereby directly or indirectly, because you know the country receives around 2% of its GDP as aid. So, and though there are a lot of issues with regard to aid effectiveness at the end of the day, but I will not get into that kind of discussion, but I want to arrest your attention towards that, yes, there will be issues with regard to aid, and of course, to support the massive development initiatives that we have undertaken and subsequent governments have undertaken with the support of the development partners, and of course active participation from the private sector, the growing countries, growing private sector. There will be issues with regard to that, yes, how much we can borrow commercially from the international capital market, commercial marketplaces, and thereby so rates may go up, and that might warrant us and compel us to do some better homework inside, like improvement in governance, improvement in loanability, improvement in kind of balance sheet management, improvement in asset and liability management, and overall managing the corporate side of the business, and increasing corporatization included. And of course, because of this, aid might narrow down, shallow down, decrease or reduce. So there will be impact on in all the sector those are being supported by foreign aid or project aid, like education, like health. And today's newspaper carry a news that yes, almost 68% plus of the expenses, health expenses, is being borne by an individual as out-of-pocket expenses. So in this scenario, how do we really treadle our ship towards LDC graduation? So you know that already that there are very distinguished panel who will be focusing more articulately on our journey towards LDC graduation and towards a developing country with a smooth transition that Mr. Zillur Rahman, the Executive Director of Center for Governance Studies, has desired or shared with all of us. So to set the tone in order, I would like to request, and let me introduce all my distinguished and very esteemed panelists here. Of course, we do have Ms. Marcy Miang Tembon. She is our guest of honor. We also have, as a panelist, Mr. Sheikh Shohidul Islam, former MP, former Education Minister of the People's Republic of Bangladesh, and now the Secretary General of Jatiyo Party. Ms. Selima Ahmed MP, President, Bangladesh Women Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have been talking a lot with regard to private sector engagement in our journey towards a developing country. So I'm sure Ms. Selima Ahmed will focus on that. Professor Habibe Millat, he is yet to join us. Professor Rashid Al Mahmoud Titumir, an avid researcher, Chairman, Department of Development Studies, Dhaka University, and Chairperson of Unnayan Anneshon. We also have Professor Dr. M.A. Aziz, Secretary General Sachib. We have talked about the health sector and the out-of-pocket expenses in the health sector, and especially our experience during COVID has been quite jittery, at least at the beginning, if not now. So I would expect that, yes, and we would all expect that while we are talking about our preparedness for smooth transition into a developing country, Mr. Aziz will also loudly join in. We also have Dr. Abu Yusuf, our very good friend, Executive Director, Repeat, a faculty member of University of Dhaka. We have Mr. Parvez Karim Abbasi, faculty member, Department of Economics, East West University. And so to set the motion in order, to set the tone right, so I would like to invite Professor Rashid Al Mahmood Titumir to briefly focus on Bangladesh's preparedness for smooth transition into a developing country. Thank you.
It is not, is it what? Okay. Thank you, Maun Bhai. I won't be able to set the course right because I am not in the power. So what I could do, I could provide certain elements to it so that the power and the rulers can really take those actions so that we achieve it. So what you have asked me to do is basically I would try to do some kind of justice to it. Bangladesh is a developing country. What is that Bangladesh wants to remove its tag as a least developed country. So that's the issue, meaning that we want to see that those related to our vulnerabilities, because least developed countries are the countries of the world that are vulnerable to certain issues that has been identified by 3 major indexes. So our job is to have a transformational pathway so that we never fall back into those vulnerabilities. So as Maun Bhai rightly mentioned, there are 2 sessions with regard to, one on trade and commerce, the other on development cooperation. So I would stick to myself, as he mentioned, that about our preparation, meaning domestic capacities to overcome those vulnerabilities. So if you really look at, there are certain structural rigidities and vulnerabilities that are plugging Bangladesh's trajectory, and those were particularly exposed, particularly the fault lines were exposed during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. And there are also other issues which have been there and which have been really not allowing us to accelerate our process of development, rather inhibiting the process of our development. So I would start from those areas which had been there pre-COVID and which had been exposed during the COVID, and secondly the how part. So what are the issues at stake and how can we really move forward in terms of strategization, not the implementation of it. So we have seen that pre-COVID there are major issue is with respect to diversification, productivity, technological competitiveness, and our share in the global processes. So we have seen that most of our product have concentrated into a narrow product basket. Secondly, there are not enough technological catching up process that would ensure productivity enhancement. Third, there were also issues with respect to that our domestic capacity has not really created enough consumers to consume those products. So there is a consumption deficit as well. Secondly, what we have seen that our private sector contribution to the GDP has remained more or less stagnant. We have also witnessed that our access to capital has been exposed to disarray in financial sector. Then we have also witnessed that what is more required is to have a supply of skilled laborers. So that has also remained at a low rate than many of the countries that we are competing with. Then we have, and I'm sure our doctor friends would enlighten us on why do you need a universal health care and why it is important to have a workforce that delivers and that really provides what we have with the structural bottlenecks. And then during COVID, we have now beginning to question what has been dubbed as resilience. Because if had there been a resilience, then there wouldn't be new poor. So the what that gloss over has been done is now exposed because we have not seen if the resilience is in simpler terms is a coping strategy. So COVID-19, an external shock, has washed away 30 years of progress in terms of poverty, in terms of education, in terms of health. So we have to really have a thought through discussion what was generally said about the resilience of the economy. So that's the issues I broadly, because I was told that I should have to finish in 3 minutes. So another minute. So is our machinery equipped enough to strategize so that we do not really fall back, which is last terminal review? And secondly, and most importantly, because the agenda has to be very domestically owned, whether we move, then we fall the trap of a middle income country, which we exhibit all around the world. And we also witness there is a up and there is a down, like the Latin American trajectory. So these are the issues. The problem is that obviously there is a coordination, but the problem is about complacence because of bad politics as well as bad economics. Bad politics was like if you are really putting a tag of a basket case for a country which are going through a process of liberation and aspiration, and then you are saying it's a basket case. So that's a bad politics. Simultaneously, the bad economics is that you know there are structural bottlenecks. You know there are systematic failures. And then you say it is a shining example. So that's also hugely a bad economics. And we have seen that in the name of, particularly coming from the World Bank, calling it Bangladesh paradox without really having thought through understanding of it, and a kind of a glib knowledge over the Bangladesh trajectory. And then we have also seen pundits calling it as a Bangladesh surprise without really looking at what are the drivers of growth. Say for example that, and we have seen how World Bank has been exposed to coming up with a politically motivated agenda like doing business survey and others, which doesn't really create any economic sense. So what we see is basically that we have a trajectory where we are glossing over. And when we are not putting our feet on the ground, without really ensuring diversification, competitiveness, productivity growth on the one side of the spectrum, then on the other side of the spectrum, to have a population with higher skills and a society that has health, access to health. And simultaneously, when you do not see your institutions really functions, so how do you really create that trajectory? So I'm sure my fellow panelists would be really coming up with the ideas that would ensure that trajectory and the transitional pathway of Bangladesh being a developed country, which we all want, because this is a country in South Asia which has shed blood to earn its independence. And this is a country that wants to see that Bangladesh becomes a country that achieves equality, that achieves human dignity, that achieves social justice. So I would stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Arshad Al Mahmood Titumir. So I would now like to go to Mrs. Selima Ahmed MP and also the President of the Women Chamber. Ladies and gentlemen, you would be knowing that yes, much have been mentioned about while we were talking about our transitioning into a developing country or achieving the SDG goal, much have been talked about the role of private sector. And also SDG does tell us leaving no one behind. So looking at our women folk joining the productive sectors and increasingly joining the productive sector, how they are redefining the possible future of Bangladesh. So Mrs. Selima Ahmed represents both. She represents Women Chamber as well as she is a very esteemed member of the parliament in our honorable parliament. So I would like to listen from Mrs. Selima Ahmed to highlight two things. One is that yes, how do you see through this transition into a developing country our women colleagues in the productive sectors, in the economy coming up the ladder? This is number one. And number two, and how do you see private sector keeping pace with the journey towards achieving SDG goal, and more importantly, to do justice to this today's discussion that transitioning into a developing country. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very good morning to all of you. Let me first thank the Executive Director, Center for Governance Studies, Jillur Bhai, for inviting me when I was in Baku. And we can never say no to him, because he has been always contributing to Bangladesh into the political arena, in the economic arena, in the social arena, and in personal arena. Can't say no. Honorable moderator, the two questions or two points which you have raised is a very difficult and also time consuming, but excellencies, guests, friends from media, and Nazma Appa, good to see you. Assalamu alaikum. Let me first say that, when we see this sort of event, one of the things which I see is that lots of concern, lots of anxieties, lots of questions, lots of issues are raised. For me, that not to worry, because Bangladesh has been an example that when it was, when we got the independence, many said that it's a bottomless basket. But now we have full of basket or full of roses, oranges, apples, whatnot. And also, we also have seen that in the MDG goal, that we have achieved MDG goal. We have done lots of improvement in health, education, in women empowerment. So now when we are transforming from LDC to a developed country, I think one of the things which you have raised about the women, it's not only about the women. For me, it's that we should take consideration of all stakeholders. As we say that in SDGs, that no one should left behind. So why only women? Why not the youth? Why not the children? Why not the transgender? Why not the especially able people? So one of the things which I found, that when we talk about private sector development, when we talk about women empowerment, capacity building is very important, because new opportunities are coming up and will be coming. So no worries of that we'll lose job or we'll lose work. I think more opportunities will come, but how much prepared we are. And if you see that Bangladesh government with their self-employment investment program has started already building capacities of people in all sectors. And also, one of the things also we need to see that while we are having this LDC title, and also with our cyclone and flood and all these issues, but when we will graduate, new opportunities will come, that more investment will come. I think this will attract investors because we'll have a positive, and our branding perception will increase. So one of the concern is that when we will graduate, many international support will be withdrawn, because we will not have this quota-free, duty-free access to Bangladesh products. So that's how we face it. So for that, again, I think more information, capacity building are important. We also, which our in the inauguration session also has been discussed, that how much we will be prepared to overcome the loss of this pandemic. As you know that SMEs, and if we talk about the women entrepreneurs, we have seen that many has lost their businesses. But also new opportunities has come. Yesterday we opened a digital shop, and we are training, in Bangladesh Women Chamber, we are going to train 3,000 women entrepreneurs to be into that digital shop, so that they can sell their products. You know that our Honorable Prime Minister, she has made Bangladesh a digital Bangladesh, and in this COVID situation, no one was sitting idle. And I'm sure all of you were always in with our laptop or smartphone, and we were busy on that. But again, lots of losses has been occurred, but new opportunities has come up. So how we can, adjust with that. So one of the thing also I would like to say that, especially with the development partners, and also to Bangladesh and other whoever we are engaged with the development efforts, that when we graduate, we should not think that okay, everything has been stopped. We have our friend from World Bank, so development efforts should not be stopped. That should be have a continuous journey. And lastly, I'd like to say that Bangladesh has faced so many challenges, but we have always overcome it under the guidance and leadership of our Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina. So not to worry, sit back, but also we need to be prepared. So for me, graduation is not an end. For me, graduation is a stage, and we must build on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Salima Ahmed MP. She has rightly focused on three things that has arrested my attention, that is capacity building, and also it may be a threat on foreign aid disbursement, market access, and also Bangladesh private sector especially standing on its own to attract more commercially determined funding from the external or international money markets. So of course, and these also offer, and according to her, the Madam MP in the National Parliament, that lot of opportunities for our youth, for our upcoming entrepreneurs, as well as for people across the society and across the spectrum. and she has also now, I was thinking while she was talking that yes, reforms, be it what Professor Titumir has focused on, political reform or the right politics along with right economics, reform will play a specific agenda to drive the nation forward, because along with quality of education, unless we see our laws and regulations, especially determining further investment into private sector, into government sector, into health sector, education sector as a whole, will depend a lot how we drive our reform agenda. Therefore, I wanted to go to Dr. Yusuf that yes, in keeping with all our set parameters to transition into a developing country, how does he see that yes, our be it political reform, be it economic reform or reforms in the legal regime to come forward in keeping with the development desire of the nation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, respected moderator, and thank you very much. I am really grateful to organizer for inviting me to say a few words on such an important issue on LDC graduation. So we all know that Bangladesh is one of the consistent performer in attaining say for GDP growth rate, but nowadays we are talking about we need to think of beyond income, beyond growth. We need to think of beyond today, and we need to think of beyond average, because if we are average one in such a competitive world, it is very difficult for us to survive. So that's why already there are some discussions that what we need to do over next 5 years while we are moving a transition period from LDC to developing countries. So one issues I need to start with what Dr. Rashid Al Mahmoud Titumir focused on institution issues. If you ask me one of the key challenges for Bangladesh, I would rather focus on that is on weak institutions. We are flooded with say for rules over game, but sometimes there is we call like Adam Smith said, invisible hand. Sometimes it does not work due to these weak institutions. So we need to have, if you are talking about a single reform, we need to have strong institutions. And let me quote one very famous book by Donny Roderick, that is Globalization, Institutions and Economic Growth, because we are having one economics, but there are many recipes. So we need to combine our growth, whatever the consistent performer we are having, with strong institutions. And there is often says that we are having growth but sluggish investment, we are having growth but with say for very slow employment opportunities. And one of the bottlenecks, there is a lack of say for skill gap. SDG 8 we are talking about productive employment, and every year so far say for 2.2 million labor force entering in the labor market, and in our labor market 85% are working in the informal economy. So how we need to concentrate on, as our moderator mentioned about quality of education, and we are working in the education sector. So we need to produce productive graduate. We need to produce capable graduate that Amartya Sen highlighted. So I think there is a very much, there is a missing link. About 500,000 mid-level officials from overseas, they are working in our country, and they are taking say for $6-7 billion out of the country. So there is a gap. We need to fill this gap in. I think this is one of the key challenges area that we need to focus on these issues. And also, in addition to this productive employment, I think it is important to focus on, there are 3 I's, SDG 9, that is, infrastructure, innovation, and industrialization. So industrialization is one of the issues. What we have seen that government has planned to set up 100 special economic zone, but so far by 2030, but that is 2021,
already 15 to 20 special economic zone are getting ready. But there is a long way to go if we are talking about employment opportunities. So we need to focus on these issues as well, infrastructure, and also this is one of the bottlenecks, because whenever we will be graduating, we want to see our infrastructure as the infrastructure of developing country, and we cannot change this infrastructure overnight. So we need to focus on these issues because there is a changing circumstances. There are some preference of erosion that will be taken place. So how we will be, preparing ourselves with that issues, that is really important. So one way is that is improving, say for if we focus on infrastructure, if we focus on say for reducing cost of doing business, we need to focus on the competitiveness. Not competitiveness, it is not only the individual levels, we have to focus on the competitiveness at the farm level, because we are talking about say for export diversification for long. If we are talking about say for starting from first five-year plan to say for now 8 5-year plan, but unfortunately we are not doing this export diversification. We are too much dependent on one product over the years. So we need to focus on how this export diversification, not only for product diversification, intermediary good diversification, market diversification, and goods to service diversification. And also we need to focus on the market access issues. So how we can ensure, because we will have some preference of erosion, we are not getting the duty free, quota free access. So we need to negotiate with say for market access to EU country, and there is a GSP plus will be taken place in 2023. So we need to participate in this negotiation process, and also US market and UK market, how we can ensure this market access issues, that we need to focus on issues. So and another issues that I would like to focus on, tax GDP ratio. I think we need to there is a huge room for resource mobilization. I don't think that is only 2 million people they are submitting their return, and I think there is a huge scope for if we do say for go for automation and reform in the tax reform, not only those who are paying taxes, rather enhancing the tax net. So there is a huge reform required in these circumstances. So at the end, I would like to highlight that LDC graduation is just a milestone in the marathon of development, and we will need to we are talking about whole of society approach. So it is not only the role of government, how we can engage other stakeholders in the development process, and at the end we think that we should not regret after 5 years that already time gone. So time is flying very fast, and we should not be happy to compare with ourselves. Okay, our GDP say for volume, it was 300 billion, now $350 billion, and it was say for $30 billion 30 years back. So we should not compare with ourselves, rather we should compare with our comparators, our competitors, because they are moving fast, and we need to comply ourselves in the race. Thank you very much for your patience hearing. Thank you, respected moderator. Thank you.
Brief while they are delivering their part of the comments. Now I'd like to go to Dr. M.A. Aziz, Secretary General Sachiv, health, out-of-pocket expenses for bearing the health hazards, and who knows more than all the distinguished people present here, only a healthy nation can dream to be prosperous nation. So how do we ensure minimum possible health without creating too much of mess in the budgetary process or the health action plans? Mr. Aziz, please.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator Mamun Rashid. Respected guest of honor Marcy Mayang Tembong, Dr. Manjur Ahmed Chaudhary, Chairman Center for Governance Study, Executive Director Jilur Rahman, and thanks Dr. Abdullah Malun for nice presentation. Respected participant, journalist, good morning. It's a pleasure for us. Graduation of Bangladesh from LDC status to developing country on 50th anniversary or golden jubilee of independence. Bangladesh is a great achievement as well as subject of dignity and prestige for nation. Bangladesh was included in LDC in 1975. It has fulfilled all the criteria of UN Committee of United Nations Committee for Development Policy for transition to developing country 2018. In order to exit from LDC, a country needs to qualify to triennial evaluation UNCDP. After recognition, the country usually remains LDC for preparation. In that case, Bangladesh was supposed to exit LDC in 2024. But COVID situation or pandemic situation, Bangladesh would get more 2 years. In that case, if everything goes fine, Bangladesh will formally graduate as a developing country in 2026. Till then, the country will continue to enjoy trade benefits as an LDC. I like to say some few words as a whole. Bangladesh recommendation for exit from LDC is a great achievement, but after graduation a developing country, Bangladesh will have both opportunities as well challenges. Some challenges. As a result of UN recognition, lot of existing facilities of Bangladesh in world market will reduced. Getting loans.
Dr. Aziz, if I may draw your attention, if you could remain within the health issue,
yes,
because others have covered and I'm sure all will cover.
Thanks. I think in our health sector, we have seen a real situation in COVID situation in our health. We achieved MDG, now we are achieving SDG. We think we have our trained manpower in health sector. In our Bangladesh, main problem in our health sector, inter-cadre discrimination or inter-cadre problem is most common situation in health sector. We have bad experiences in health authority in different department where experiences. We think it is our main problem. If we have reform our health sector properly, that will be benefited for the people and all our people of Bangladesh. So, my suggestion in your panel list or during this session, main problem of our health sector is reformation necessary in every aspect. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. I'm sure there will be more discussion with regard to how do we prepare ourselves as a healthy nation to transition more smoothly towards a developing country. And it itself requires a lot of discussion, I guess, while we are talking of LDC graduation. Now may I go to Mr. Parvez Karim Abbasi to especially focus on the skill gap that has been much talked about in this country, not only for a smooth transition to a developing country, not for achieving many SDG goals, and also to capture the opportunities that Her Excellency Ms. Selima Ahmed MP has rightly brought onto the table.
Thank you, sir. And I believe this is actually very close to my heart, because as we are all from academia. So drawing on the excellent points raised by Professor Titumir and Professor Yusuf, I would be focusing on one massive obstacle that Bangladesh needs to worry about. Yes, it calls for celebration that we have moved into the LMIC, low middle income country status, in 2015, and we are going to attain well, we are supposed to attain it by 2024, but now UN CDP intervention is 2026. We are going to go for LDC graduation. But there are growing pains. And I call this, and bear with me, it's called the education employment enigma. And this is a key idea of the weaknesses of Bangladesh. We have come up with mass education. We have come up with quantity, and yes, the government and successive governments have played a role. NGOs have played a role. But now I'll quote data. And there is debate about data, so I'll go with the Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics. I cannot be accused of tampering with the data. So between 2015 to 2017, 1.4 million people entered the labor force. During the same time, 1.29 million people got their jobs. That means over 1.1 million people are jobless. That's one data. Number two data, official unemployment rate before COVID, this is before COVID, because COVID is an exogenous shock, was 4.2%. But amongst the youth unemployment, it is over 13%, 10 to 13%. Out of the total unemployed people, around 80% are youth. And it gets even worse. Because we were told, the conventional sense is that as you acquire education, your chances of employment should get better. But what does our labor force survey of 2017 tell us? Now, I'm just quoting from here. People with tertiary education, college level education, more than HSA education, 13.4% unemployment. People with secondary education, 28.4%. This has nothing to do with political regimes. This is an endemic weakness, no matter who comes to power. And we are thumping our chest, and we are saying that we are ready to take on the entire world. But this is a massive skills gap. We are saying that our people from abroad are coming over here, but our business owners have no choice. They're competing on a global level. You have to run those businesses. We have universities, both public and private, churning in students, mass education. But in terms of skills, we are actually forced to hire from abroad. I believe everyone in this room knows this. And we are going to compete. And we are also coming in with the fourth industrial revolution. Artificial intelligence, quantum computing, blockchain technology. Who is going to provide us with this technology? Along with this, even worse, with LDC graduation, I'm just finishing it up, just two more points. With LDC graduation, we have also another growing pains concern. All LDC countries are supposed to enjoy waiver from TRIPS, trade-related intellectual aspects. Now, because of LDC, we are going to waive that exemption in 2026. Now, what will happen to our booming pharmaceutical sector? We are talking about an API, active pharmaceutical ingredients park, but what about supply chain linkage? Who will be the people who will man this? This skills gap, we need donor assistance. We need cooperation. If official development assistance is supposed to decline. But one of the aspects is that Bangladesh is not fully an LDC. Bangladesh is not fully a low middle income country. It's somewhere in between. It's a blended economy, as by multilateral organizations' description. And along with this, the last part, we are probably the only NDC who is hosting the biggest refugee concentration in the world, 1.1 billion. And along with this, the problem is donor assistance is only 35%. The rest comes out of the Bangladeshi government pocket. So where can we actually use this? And along with this, there's COVID-19. And now there's a Cornwall consensus, which has replaced Washington consensus. That means governments must play a proactive role. But we are saddled with the Rohingya refugee crisis. Are we getting any other kind of concession for this? We pay $1 billion worth of tariff to sell our ready-made garments in the United States. Will that be waived away? We're doing a good deed. There should be some official recognition. See, these are questions where we need to engage the international community. And ending it up, we are talking about skills. One more thing, every day when I close my eyes, you're talking about competitors.
we also need capacity building in terms of identifying our competitors. Vietnam is our biggest competitor. It has already signed an EU free trade agreement in 2020. It is in, we are happy that we joined in RCEP. Vietnam has joined it much earlier. It's already in CPTPP. Our garment share has in fact increased from 75% to 86% from 2000 to 2019. Vietnam's has actually gone down from 12.2% to 11.8% within the same time. And they have already overtaken us as the second largest export destination. See, these are, and all of this, and it doesn't matter if we get less assistance, because this is the part of growing up. But we need technological transfer. Aid for trade, but again, aid for trade we know is being subsumed by donor countries into different packages, and this effective capacity building is not there. And also the last second, so finishing up, as we graduate, we must also keep into mind that we must be more smarter and more transparent about providing agriculture subsidies, about providing infant industry support, which will then come under WTO rules and provision. So all those areas, we need greater engagement with the international donor community and the multilateral organizations. Thank you, sir.
It was quite articulate, Mr. Abbasi. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, before I go to Mr. Sheikh Shohidul Islam, I would like to just remind you that of the paucity of time, we want to run another round of discussion between our esteemed panelists before we go to the today's guest of honor. So I would like to request everyone once again to be very brief, very focused, and discussion on the desired topic only. So now, Mr. Sheikh Shohidul Islam, as you all of you would be knowing that he ran a very important ministry for the Republic, Education Ministry, and he has also performed his responsibility as Secretary General of one of the large, but now whether it is, how do you define a large political party, I don't know, because I was not a student of political science, but of course a mentionable party. So I would like to request Mr. Shohidul Islam to put some light on the overall preparedness of this nation into a developing country, and more importantly, focusing on the capacity building side of it. Capacity is not only education, is not only health, managerial capacity, leadership capacity, driving the private sector in the era of fourth industrial revolution that Mr. Karim Abbasi has rightly focused on. Also, how do we ensure that minimum possible health services is being ensured to the common people of this republic. So Mr. Sheikh Shohidul Islam, former Education Minister of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. Thank you. If you could be so brief, sir. Just 5 minutes. Let's try.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, Mr. Guest of Honor, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I will not just point out just coming to the key points. So far the preparation for graduation is concerned, we must say, as a politician, what I see, we are very much underprepared. And the preparation is only on the paper and bureaucratic level. It has not been transmitted to people, to trade bodies, to industrialists and others, to technologies. No. It is only in a bureaucratic way. We are telling that we are taking preparations, but we are very much underprepared. COVID-19 has proven, though we are among the luckiest countries, that our number of deaths is only, we are third in the row, though we have a 16 million, on 60 million population. Our death rate is very, day before yesterday it was deathless day. So, but COVID-19 has proved that our health sector is very vulnerable. We cannot deny it. And the challenges we will be facing is, Mr. Karim Abbasi has rightly pointed out, we don't have any preparation for the coming days. So far technology is concerned. Fourth industrial revolution is knocking at the door. We don't have any preparation for this. No universities has probably updated their curriculum to this extent. So when from we are getting manpower, human resource, and without human resource, these new technologies cannot be implemented like blockchain, nanotechnology, robotics technologies and other things. Who is an entrepreneur today? Today's entrepreneur doesn't possess much wealth. They have an innovative idea and they market that idea. And so he becomes a very good entrepreneur. Bill Gates or any other like those, they didn't come with much money. They came with ideas. And they marketed the ideas. And that's why they are not the richest people in the world. Mr. Titumir has very rightly pointed out some points. I don't want to repeat those. One thing is very important for our preparedness for the graduation, that is the political stability. I don't mean the same regime should continue. What I mean is the stability of the system. There should be a political system which can sustain the development. It is very much important. Second thing is our bureaucracy and administrative reforms. Our bureaucracy, I must say that it is now in a very, in a stage of very low profile. Their quality and their efficiency, I doubt. So there must be administrative reforms. Unless there is administrative reforms, we cannot move. And government policies cannot be implemented. It is a very important thing. So far capacity building is concerned, we require those. Because we have so many aids in our pipeline and we cannot utilize those. So capacity building, and for that purpose, what is required is decentralization of the administration. From a single point, we are trying to rule 160 million people. It is not possible without decentralization. And we must remove corruption. It is like a pandemic now. Without removing corruption, we cannot march ahead. One of our previous country representative of World Bank, by the way, my son used to work in the World Bank once in Dhaka. Now he's in World Economic Forum. So I had a meeting with him. He said, you are projecting a data of GDP growth, which is 7.5% then. He told me, is it true? I said to him, I replied, it is 15%. We have two economies. One is overground economy, another is underground economy. And if you add underground economy to the overground economy, it will be 15%, not only 7.5%. Evasion of tax, the, as you told, the tax GDP ratio, the coverage of the tax-paying people. So everywhere we are below average. We must do something in these areas, and for that we require a huge administrative reforms and implementation of reforms, not only rhetorics. Rhetorics will not solve the problem. Our ministers are always speaking, and lot of rhetorics are there, but on the field, what we are saying, we are frustrated. So we must be up and doing. And it's not a matter of joke that we will be graduating and losing many, many benefits. But we will not be able to harness the facilities. So we must do it in a concrete way so that we can not only say that we are a developing country, really it is a developing country. We must ensure that. And to meet the challenges, I point out to 3 points. One is we must use our demographic advantage, which we are now enjoying. Second thing is we must build capacity. Third thing is we should have political stability. And to meet the challenges, of preparing for these human resources for fourth industrial revolution, we must update our curriculums in the universities. In tertiary education field, we are producing a lot of master's degree holders having a certificate but without proper knowledge. It is unfortunate. So I am not taking a lot of your time. I must say that we are very much underprepared and we should start our journey right now. Otherwise, we will fall behind. In 1988, I had the membership, when I was education minister, I had the membership of Information Superhighway. In 1991, with the change of government, that privilege was cancelled. We abandoned that membership, that our national secret will go out. There was a report. And in that time we used to get this connection free. In 1997, we had to have this submarine cables connection, spending $350 million. So the stability of government is political stability is a very important factor. So what I want to conclude is we are underprepared, we should not waste any time, and we should start preparation, and we should involve the real people, we should place the real people in real place. We are posting junks and we are neglecting talents. That is our misfortune. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. He has rightly focused on political stability. We'll try to listen from him in the second round, though very brief. How does he define political stability? So we'll listen from him. He has also rightly focused on administrative reform, capacity building of our administration to drive through that transition into a developing country. He has also focused on resourcing this growth prospects of this country. So ladies and gentlemen, now without much ado, I would like to go to the very brief and quick session, 2 minutes each. Again, I reiterate, 2 minutes each. Otherwise, I have to stop every one of you, each one of you. So I'm just leaking the questions out for everyone's interest. So I would like to know from Mr. Professor Rashid Al Mahmood Titumir, how does he focus on the corruption and the governance side of it? So not now, just sharing the questions. For Mr. Abu Yusuf, he has focused on that financing, tax GDP ratio. Now, my second question to him would be, how do we finance that transition to a developing country? My third question would be to Ms. Selima Ahmed MP, what is your colleagues discussing about this transition in the National Parliament? My fourth question will be to Mr. Parvez Karim Abbasi, that yes, how do we focus and make sure that we remain focused on the health agenda of the transitioning into a developing country. So, and then of course I will come again to Mr. Sheikh Shohidul Islam. How does it define this political stability? There are issues I get to read in the newspaper. Politically we are very stable. That is why growth is happening. So what are we talking about political stability? 2 minutes each, starting with Mr. Rashid Al Mahmood Titumir. Please be brief to give time to our guest of honor.
You have to give me another minute because I really used less than 3 minutes in my earlier.
Sir, corruption and no. You spoke for 7 minutes, sir. Please focus on 2 minutes.
Let's not.
Corruption and governance.
Please do not eat away my time. So, yes. So, you see, what we are talking about is a transformational pathway, which is about transformability conditions, then sufficient conditions, and sustainability conditions. So, within that framework, if we are using that, then really what you call corruption, I really do not know what corruption means, but what I know is of rent seeking, rentiers, and rent distribution. So in doing so, what we need is why that rentier society wouldn't allow you to have a functioning economy that would achieve 2041 vision of Bangladesh? If I phrase that question in that fashion, I would be really doing that. So what you need is basically, for a stability condition, you need high skilled human resources, as has been highlighted, to derive benefit of a demographic dividend. Secondly, you need a functioning fiscal system that ensure not what we see right now. If you really look at the trajectory of Bangladesh, 500 billion company, that would require in earlier days lesser amount of time, but for example, companies now it requires earlier. So is it because of the rent distribution? That's a big question you have to really ask yourself and find out the answer for it. Whether the fiscal system really allows you to have a rentier class underwritten by, coming back to your sufficient condition, which is a political settlement, how the power is distributed and how the power is intertwined at both vertical level as well as horizontal level, and there is a distribution system. If you are not part of the resource dependent syndicate, you are nowhere in the process, and that is underwritten, and that has an accountability system, should I say. Because say you have a 5 crore, so that has to be taken by the local level. If you have a minister, then you have a 500 taka. So there is a complete and accountable system of distribution of patronage. And if you are not part of the system, the political system wouldn't allow you to retain yourself in the system. So that's what it says. In terms of then how does that really inhibit our process of development? So if we are really interested about sustainability, then we have to really move towards a green industrialization. But how do you do that? Would the Shell or Chevron allow you to do that? So it's not the politician. Would the JP Morgan do it? Would the World Bank do it? Because World Bank would be talking about that we would not be investing in fossil fuel while its portfolio says otherwise. So it's not the politician has to be, because there is a demand side of it and there is a supply side of it. And both are really ensuring a rentier society, which we have witnessed in French with the Louis XVI. And we have seen how the rentier society doesn't allow you to enhance your tax capabilities, and that has been demonstrated well by Thomas Piketty. And we have also seen how that doesn't really allow you to finance, and which you end up in an unequal society.
Thank you very much. It's a tough question, but it's easy also. Because in the parliament, every time when we start a session, the leader of the parliament, our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, she always gives a... Yeah, I will be. I have my time, right? So I have not finished. So the thing is that what I would like to say that she always give a visionary speech and also guidance. So about if you see that Bangladesh has always taken care of MDG, SDG, and also the government is giving highest priority to ensure smooth transition of LDC graduation. So my colleagues in the parliament, we are taking this on the table. We are having debate. We are talking and also finding out all the agendas of our constituency, because ultimately in a small way the things become bigger. So each constituents are bringing their priorities, bringing their issues, and I'm sure that in the parliament ultimately you'll see that this LDC graduation guidelines will be very much transparent, and also will be available to the people, because we are going to have a long parliament session and from end of December, January, because that's a 1-month parliament session we have. So we are hoping that some concrete sort of discussion will be held. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Selima Ahmed MP. Now can we go to Mr. Abu Yusuf? You already know the question, I'm sure. If you could be brief. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, respected moderator. I think it's a very important question asked for me, that is financing when we will be graduating. It's very, very important issues. Actually, financing is very much related to, because two basic pillars are very important for any country. One is a fiscal policy, another one is a monetary policy. So I think efficient utilization of our resources, say for how to, we are utilizing taxpayers' money. We are talking now value for money. So I think we need to focus on this accountability, transparency when we are talking about public expenditure. One issue is because government has been implementing many mega projects. So timely implementation, because without implementation timely, the cost of these projects increased significantly. Say for example, there is under the public-private partnership, one mega project that is being implemented, say for Dhaka to Gazipur. I think it started 2012. Now it is still going on. We don't know when it will finished. That only one public-private partnership project is going on. So this is very important issues, I think, regarding these issues. Another one issues, targeting the right people. To face this COVID-19 situation, government announced 1,87,000, which is more than 6% of our GDP as a stimulus package. So we are talking about this, targeting differentials. So at some point, government has announced to targeted to reach 5 million people, poor people with taka 2,500. But government could not reach because government does not have any, database for who are the poor people. But unfortunately, Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics, with due respect, because we did not see the role of Bangladesh Bureau of Statistics to provide government with some updated data. Whatever we are talking about, say for we refer to labor force survey 2016-17. We are talking about now 2021, but we are referring household income and expenditure survey 2016. And this is this time lag. So for informed policy making decisions, it is very important to have a updated data. So I think government should focus on these issues. For the last moment, I personally grateful to Sheikh. Sorry.
So yes, we understood that data quality data.
Yeah. Just one few seconds. Sheikh Shohidul Islam, I never met him. I passed SSC examination in 1988. But I still remember some bold initiative when he was the education minister to reduce unfair means. So we are the beneficiaries during this 88-89. Thank you.
So Mr. Parvez Karim Abbasi.
Thank you, sir. It's rare that again, not only the chair, but also some of the panelists also bring me to the fore. And I found myself promoted from education to healthcare. 2 minutes. So again, the one quick solution for healthcare is nobody's going to like it. We have to institutionalize a universal healthcare scheme. And why? For common diseases, cold, cough, for everybody, you have to go to government providers. Then the quality of healthcare will provide. No matter I'm in Gulshan, if somebody is in outside in Shamoli, for cold, you have to go to a government designated center. What happens then? Then the upper, as you said, the rentier class or those in the powers that be, and that can be across political divide, they will ensure that quality is there. They will ensure that doctors come there and the infrastructure is there. India has already done it with the Aadhaar card. We have our national ID card. We have one of the best primary healthcare centers over here. 500 Upazila healthcare centers, 5,000 urban sub-centers, 13,000 satellite clinics. We have the structure. We don't have the will. And one more thing, I think we have 1 more minute. Even before COVID, we had something called catastrophic expenditure, emergency medical healthcare expenditure, which is going to drive people down the poverty line. Only 1% of the population has insurance against healthcare.
catastrophic healthcare expenditure. 6 million people, which is 3.8% population every year, goes down the poverty line because of massive healthcare shocks, and that was before COVID. So universal healthcare coverage is the need of the hour. If there's a will, there's a way. Is there a political will?
Dr. Habibe Millat MP, esteemed member of the parliament, he is also present here today. So I wanted to borrow additional 5 minutes from the organizer to skip in Mr. Habibe Millat as well as to do justice to our today's guest of honor. So now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Habibe Millat MP, especially to focus on the health priorities to be set up towards our journey to become a developing country. How the nation should be delineating its draft health management policy that also Mr. Parvez Karim Abbasi has focused on. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for inviting me in this national dialogue on LCD graduation. In one word, I should say before going to health that we should have political commitment. That is the priority. If we don't have that, we cannot do anything. And we need to make a policy, and also to implement this policy, we need a good planning, and strong monitoring is very important. Now come to the health, universal health coverage or health system in this country. If you see the newspaper today, that you will see that only 3% patients are getting proper health care, especially in the medicine and other amenities from the hospitals. But I am not sure about that, because in my hospital, in my own area, much more patients are getting that. But anyway, our out-of-pocket expenditure is very high compared to other countries. It's about, not exactly I know, but it's around 65, today's TSL up to 73%. That means that healthcare system in Bangladesh run by the government is for 1/4 of the population. The rest of the population are getting health care from their own pocket. As you said, the last 10, 15, 13 years, I should say that healthcare has been improved. Our primary healthcare, we are proud of that because of the community clinic our Honorable Prime Minister has introduced many years ago, and also the infrastructure in the union level, Upazila level, and the district level. It's a very good infrastructure. We have few lackings that, and those are, number one, manpower, proper manpower in the proper place. Number two is the supply chain is not strong enough, and number three is that if anything goes wrong, it should come through the bureaucratic channel up to the top, so it takes long time. Now come to the how can we solve this problem? As we know that public, there is government and private sector should work together. If we compare with other countries, as I said, that we have got MDG prize for the MDG award, our Honorable Prime Minister got South award, these sort of things. But in the secondary and tertiary healthcare, and also beyond that, we are really lacking. We have some deficiency in that. As we know that about 12 to 14% patients are providing 12% of the family income for health treatment, and 10 or 12% of the population getting poor to poorer every year because of the bearing health care. And another alarming issue is that more than 30 million people, as I saw in the newspaper this morning, that they are not going to the doctor or taking the treatment because of they don't have enough fund to go to the doctors. So they're deprived of the treatment. Another issue is I saw that the people, 14 or 15% patients are going to these not qualified doctors. They're going to the village doctors and other traditional way of they're doing that. Universal health coverage as a pilot project the government has started many years ago, about 6-7 years ago, Shuroka program in Tangal, 3 upajelas. We do not know the outcome of that yet, but they had expanded a little bit out of that. As you know, we have a highest political commitment. Our Honorable Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, has signed a paper in United Nations many years ago to implement universal health coverage. And also, in the parliament and in the, if you see the 8th 5-year plan, you will see that we have implemented only 50% compared to Thailand and neighboring other countries. Their implementation is very good. So I think until unless we implement universal health coverage, which include not only the insurance, is a big component, is the insurance, but and compared to the as insurance for different category or financial level people in the different premium we will giving, and this I want to cut it short, that it is very much essential. In the parliament we are talking about that. Also health budget, that's not enough. As you said yesterday, health minister said we need more budget. Of course you need more budget, but we need to proper utilization of the budget. And also prioritize, we need to prioritize what do we want to do next year, after 5 years, after 10 years, or long-term plan. Because what we want to see our healthcare system in 20 years time, because we cannot change it in a day or two, really. We cannot do that. But we have to have that sort of plan, but we don't have that. So we need to do that. I think we need to do that, and we need to, of course, increase the budget. Otherwise, we cannot run the health facilities in this country. The amount of budget we are getting, we are spending behind the salaries and the infrastructure, mainly not providing the support to the patient. So we need to look at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. He has, in a brief time, shortest possible time, I must credit him. He has focused on so many issues. Those can be identified as the challenges towards our journey into a developing country. At the same time, how do we make sure to ensure better governance and better sustainability in healthcare system. As committed, I would like to go back to Mr. Minister, Mr. Sheikh Shahidul Islam, that yes, how does he define political stability? If you could be very brief, sir.
Yeah. By political stability, I mean the political parties should reach a consensus on major issues like education, like investment, like finance and industry, trade and commerce. They should reach a consensus so that the journey towards the destination is not disrupted by any forces. When they are out of power, projects are not abandoned, and things continue as before. You know, in many countries, even in Japan itself, there has been so many elections in the last few years, but the policy is consistent. So, by political stability, I mean the institutions should grow, they should be made stronger, and policy should not change with the change of government. There should be a consensus among the major political forces on some basic issues like education, investment, development issues and others. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, may we please now go to listen from Ms. Marcy Tembon, the esteemed country director for Bangladesh and Bhutan for the World Bank. Marcy Tembon, please.
Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning, or it's almost afternoon now to everybody. It's a great pleasure for me to be here today and to listen to all the discussions that have happened, but I really want to start by thanking the Center for Governance Studies for inviting me to be guest of honor for this national dialogue. And I think it is it's an extremely important topic at an extremely important moment in the life and the journey of Bangladesh. Two reasons. One, Bangladesh, all the descriptions have been made, so I don't want to go back, but we are kind of getting to a key moment, which is the 50th anniversary of independence of this country. 50 years is not a short time in one way, but it is a short time in another way. And what Bangladesh has been able to accomplish during this time is phenomenal, is remarkable, impressive. But at the same time, it is also a key moment because that journey is being made to move from the least developed country column to the developed country column. And plus, the country has the ambition and aspires to become an upper middle income country by 2031 and a fully developed country by 2041. That is, this is the dream this is a country that's been dreaming and achieving its dreams as it goes. So that dream has been set, the goal has been set, and I think this discussion today is really the how to. It's no longer the what, because the what has been set, but it's the how do you get from where we are to where the country wants to go. And I think, again, as I said, the discussions, the points that have been made around the table have ticked all the boxes, starting with the keynote address that was made by Dr. Mamoun, setting the stage for the discussion. And I, just sitting here and listening to everybody speak, all the issues, the key areas that you raised, and those questions that you put on the board at the end of your presentation, in one way or the other, has been responded to in the discussions. So what I would like to do, actually, now is to just kind of pick up 3 key messages that I hear coming out of this. And again, coming from the World Bank, we've been here for the past 50 years as well. So we'll be celebrating 50 years of independence. Of course, during these 50 years, we've had our successes, our failures, and everything. But the important part is we have been part of this successful journey that Bangladesh has had. So the first key message that comes out of all of this is the recognition of the challenges and the opportunities that LDC graduation brings to Bangladesh. The challenges, it will graduate in 2026, and there's a transition period to 2029, but we've talked about the losses, what they will lose, the preferential market access, the differential treatment benefits, and so on and so forth. But there are other challenges that are really purely internal. There are, and panel members have talked about it. They've talked about challenges of skills, the skill gap. They've talked about, the weak institutions. We've talked about health issues, education issues, and so on. These are things that are very, very internal and things that we can have control over. And so recognizing these challenges and doing something to address them would help the country achieve its objectives. But on the flip side, there have been opportunities that this graduation brings to the country. It does bring the greatest opportunity of introducing reforms that will really accelerate the achievement of the goal. A lot has been happening. There have been reforms, but the low-hanging fruit reforms are all done. Right now, we need to move to the second generation reforms, which will lift the country and shift its gear towards where it wants to go. So those reforms are extremely, extremely important to take very seriously and to implement. And like what somebody said, it's not a plan. A plan is a piece of paper. You need to translate that plan and those ideas into action, an action that actually touches everybody in the society. It has to be green, it has to be resilient, it has to be inclusive. Everybody, to the last person in the villages, in the Upuzilas, should be able to feel economic growth. 7% economic growth, what does that mean? I was in Mymensingh over the weekend, and I talked to a group of women who are doing fish farming and so on, and they told their stories of what they have gone through, how they've benefited from some projects that have given them access to credit, and the phenomenal things that they do. A woman started with, and she was literally crying when she was telling the story. They had no food to eat, they had nothing, but now she was able to have 20,000 taka She bought a cow. Then she sold the cow for 50,000, and then she was able to take credit again for 50,000, and now she's 200,000. She's moved from 0 to 22 cows that she owns. That is the example of what development is, because you see it in the lives of people. So basically what I'm saying is that we need to have those opportunities, those reforms that actually have that effect that reaches down to everybody. My second message is relates to building export competitiveness. And I think Dr. Abu Yusuf eloquently talked about the need for export competitiveness. We know that Bangladesh has succeeded in becoming the world's second exporter of ready-made garments. And there've been a lot of policies that have, the first time I came to this country was in 2007. The Bangladesh that was then is so different from the Bangladesh that was now. Go backwards. When this country became independent in 1971, I remember in those days I was still a student doing my master's and PhD. It was one of the poorest, the 3 poorest countries I remember, because I still read it in my thesis till today. Bangladesh, Ethiopia, and Central African Republic. See where Bangladesh is today. See where Ethiopia is today. And see where Central African Republic are. We should be very proud for what we have done. But it's because of the reforms that actually started with the grassroots, with the communities, with the cooperatives, planting rice and so on and so forth. And now this is a country that is running on rice production, ready-made garments, remittances. And it's a phenomenal story to tell. But what got us here is not going to get us there. You all know Goldsmith's book on how to really move to the next agenda. And I think one key pillar would be building export competitiveness. We've talked about it, all the panelists have said it, but I think we need really to gear up to that. And one of the areas that will help kind of move the agenda would be tariff rationalization. Right now, we are in a situation where tariffs doubled from 14.8% to 30%, 14.8% up to 30% in FY20. But this makes it very difficult for people to move away from the domestic market. Because right now we are very concentrated in the domestic market. If we want to become a developed country, we definitely need to move into the bigger pool where the others are swimming. And everybody around the table has talked about this. So I'm just kind of capture what are the ingredients that would be important to move this. Another one, and again, I'll end up with what we are doing in the World Bank to support this agenda. But the other aspect is trade facilitation. And we need to be very, very agile in facilitating trade. Right now, I think there is a policy to have the national single window, which will try and reduce right now as we speak, there is an estimate that the processing time for import is about 360 hours. 360 hours is a long time. We need to have one single window where you go here, you go there, you reduce it to a very short time. Prior to coming to Bangladesh, I was the country director for Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. And I can tell you, Georgia moved with the ease in its ability to do business like this. When I was there, it was 26, then it moved on to 16, then it moved on to 6. Why is that? They have one single stop shop where you can have your passport in a day from when you bring your birth certificate, you bring your thing, it just moves in there like that, and you accelerate. When you accelerate the processes, then you get people moving. It takes you a few hours to create a business. It takes you a few hours. You don't even need days to do this. And that agility of the institutions is one of the things that would actually propel it. We have all seen it. We just did a systematic country diagnostic. A key issue is the weaknesses of the institutions and the systems. It takes so long to process documents. It takes so long to do this. If we can just sit up, and trust me, Bangladesh is very capable. If there's one country I believe in, it is this one, about its ability to do, if it is willing to do. So, you know, trade facilitation is an extremely important part. And my third message is about the private sector. Again, the discussion has gone on about the need for us to involve the private sector in LDC graduation. We cannot rely on a local private, a private sector is booming here. You know, I see the Jamuna group, I see, you know, look at Gulshan. It's like, I was walking the other day and I took a couple of pictures and I sent them to my sons and they said, one of them called the brother and said, is mom in New York? I said, no, I'm in Gulshan. You know, because the infrastructure, if you just look at Gulshan Avenue, you will never believe this is, and somebody just didn't say anything, you could say it's in New York, you could say it's anywhere. But can we say that in the streets in Rangpur? Can we say that in Cox's Bazar? Can we say that in Khulna? Can we say that in Mymensingh? That's the whole point about getting it, that level of development to go, and the public sector cannot do it. The private sector, it's important that the role of the private sector is key. Investors, foreign direct investments, you've all said it. I'm not saying anything that is new because I'm just capturing what you have said as the panelists. You've talked about the role of private sector investors, foreign direct investment, the economic zones. I've visited quite a few. The export economic zones are good, but the issue there is that it is so concentrated on ready-made garments. Can we diversify and do that in other sectors? One good other sector is leather, is shoes. We were in Ashuganj the other day, and I saw these little small and medium-sized enterprises doing shoes, beautiful shoes. Problem is I didn't have my size. I would have bought one, I would have bought a couple. But then those shoes are really beautiful. Can we increase the export of leather, shoes, other things to the level of ready-made garments? So we're second in the world, first in the world, and so on and so forth. So I think that the role of the private sector and foreign direct investments is extremely key to bring about the changes that the government aspires, the people of Bangladesh aspire to have, and it is possible. And I would really like to close by talking about the role of the World Bank. The World Bank has been here for 50 years, and we are very, very proud of the achievements that we have had together. Yesterday, 2 days ago, in Ashuganj, we visited one of the steel silos. The silos that are actually, I'm sure if you move around the country, we have 8 of them that we are constructing. We move around the country to see that this country is a very vulnerable country to climate change, to floods and so on. But we should be able to have food security. We should have food safety and enough production that will stand to build the resilience that we need. So these silos, it was just amazing to see 30 silos in Ashuganj, and we went to Madhupur, and another 31 there, each of them containing 3,500 tons of rice that they can preserve. And this can be kept for 3 years without changing the value. Why am I referring to this? I'm referring to this because in 1972, the first president of the World Bank, one of the presidents of the World Bank, McNamara, was here to inaugurate a silo, a food silo. In 1972, it was a small food silo. Now we are talking of steel silos, big, thousands of. It shows you the journey. It shows you the development journey that we have, and it shows you that the preparedness for the future. So I think we have been part of you. We have been part of this. There have been ups and downs. I don't refuse, because in any life, in any family, in any marriage, in anything, there will be difficult times and there will be good times. But let's look at the good times and let's build this country. Let's move the country forward, building on our strengths rather than our weaknesses. So with this, I would like to stop here and hand over the microphone back to the chair.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tembon. It was really, really convincing, talking all about reform and going for drastic reform and redefining the reform agenda also. And may I now conclude by thanking all our esteemed panelists, and especially Dr. Marcy Tembon, the World Bank esteemed country director for Bangladesh and Bhutan, and also draw your attention towards a book written by two of the Harvard professors, Why Nations Fail. And nations do fail for not driving reforms subsequently and subsequent reforms. So let us all focus on spotting the reform agenda, redefining the reform agenda, and also prioritizing the reform agenda. Thank you so much once again for your listening to us and also presence here. Thank you.